good morning. My name is Pietro Mainardi. I'm a physiotherapist, manual therapist, osteopath, and I work with posture since the last 12 years in my practice. I created this new system called FixSit, which is the only system in the world able to change my pelvis posture in the 3 planes of space. We have nothing similar because we have only considered one plane of space, which is the kyphosis position, and we're going to correct it in a lordotic position. But our pelvis has 3 planes of space, and to go and correct, prevent, and maintain what we do in our practice, this is very important. As like when we put insoles, as like we put an orthodontic system, as like we put glasses to correct our primary receptors. So, I wanted to show you how it works. FixIt is composed by this space, which is very similar to the orthodontic system, because we are going to put on top of this surface these buttons, which are different colors, which correspond to different heads. By the way, that we can go and choose the right head to go and correct each posture, just because posture is very individual. It's like if we had some insoles that correct only supination or pronation on the foot. No, we must go and correct all the parameters. We're going to use these buttons, putting them on the base, and once we put the buttons on the base, we can transfer the biomechanical energy given by the buttons to this layer of film, which gives directly the proprioceptive information to the patient that sits on it. So, I want to show you how we have 3 planes of space, not only flexion and extension. The 3 planes of space are torsion, translation, and flex extension. So, if I want to bring my iliacum joint posterior, it's not just going to be posterior, because an anterior iliacum is going to be interrotated. So, I'm going to work on posteriority and laterality. At the same fact, I want to bring a posterior iliacal anterior, but a posterior iliacal is not only posterior, it's posterior and extorotated. So positioning the buttons is very important. And to know how to position the buttons, I'm going to teach you a very simple method called ABC, where you're going to realize the posture of the patient, but especially the patient will realize his dysfunction. Fundamental to have the consciousness and then to go and change his parameters. For example, if I suppose I have an anterior iliacum on the right, I remember it's also interrotated. So I want to put these 2 buttons on these 2 pads to bring it back and leave space for the femoris to fall lateral. In the same way, I want to bring the right iliacum anterior and medial. So I'm going to leave a lateral space. Then I can go and test kyphosis and lordosis. If I'll have a patient who has kyphosis, I'm going to do a pressure in the back just to give him the information to go in extension. Instead, if I have a patient with kyphosis, hyperlordosis, I want to bring him in flexion, I'm going to put these buttons in the front. Let's pretend our patient has an hyperlordosis and we have nothing to give him because the only system we have to correct the back in this moment is something that corrects your kyphosis. So if I give something that corrects kyphosis to a person who has an hyperlordosis, I'm going to cause him pain. This is personalized on each dysfunction. Let's go to see. On the relation test, we have 1 standing test, and then we're going to have other 3 sitting tests. In this first test, we're going to go and see how our patient decided to face gravity with his posture. In this case, if I make the translation on one side, I will find no tension of the tissues and a good stability of the patient. I can also give some rotation laterally to find stability, and we'll find stability. On the other hand, starting from a neutral position, I push my patient on this side, and it's not going to have stability at all. This doesn't mean he has dysfunction. This is a physiological position. What brings him to a pathological position are the habits of our life. In a sitting position, we're going to do other 3 tests. Take a seat, please. As by the fact he stands on his right leg, he's going to have a posterior iliacum and extorotated leg on the right, and an anterior iliacum on the left interrotated. In this tilt test, I want to stress these movements, going to the end of the range of motion and spring the direction where first I think it goes best, and I find no tension, then in the other direction, and I find a lot of tension. Can you feel it? Yes. Patient feels very much because they pull on the ligaments. The second test I'm going to do in a sitting position is to bring the direction where I think the patient goes very well. So his left leg is going to be internal, his right leg is going to be external, and I find no resistance. When I go and do the opposite movement, the patient doesn't move at all, and there's a lot of tension. Can you feel it?
Yes.
Okay. This is nice because the patient realizes his problem and he gets in touch with his body. In this the last test we're going to do is a test to see if he has a concavity on one side rather than the other. Please embrace yourself. I'm going to put my hands on the iliacal crest, and with my sensibility in my hands, just starting to feel the tissue. I can feel my hand entering very well on the left and not so well on the right. Can you feel that?
Yes.
Okay. Giving a little pressure to don't make the patient do a compensation towards the chair, I will ask him to side bend first in the direction I think it goes well. So on the left, and we have a good movement, and then in the opposite direction. And there's less movement. As we have a lumbar concavity on the left, we will find a dorsal concavity on the right. The other test we're doing is the Gillen test. His hand's going to be down. I'm going to help him do a dorsal flexion on the right, where I find no tension of the tissue, and a dorsal flexion on the left, where I find much more tension. Now we configure FixSit, and we go and see what happens. In the orthotic position, probably my hand will move backwards because we will stay here, and the trochanter will move backwards because he's using a compensation to make this movement. Please bend down. My hand is here, and the trochanter is here. If I do this with a patient who has a kyphotic position, my hand will stay in the same position. We're talking about a lordotic position, which you can see also by the fact that it's very flat zone in this area. So now I know all the three parameters to go and correct my patients. We're going to correct the right iliacum, which is posterior. I want to bring it anterior and medial. And so I'm going to put these buttons on the extreme right to bring it anterior and leave space to fold medial. On the other line, on the other side, I'm going to put where we have anterior iliacum and internal iliacum, posterior and lateral. And then finally, we're going to correct the hyperlordosis, bringing his sacrum in a more flexed position. Let's see what's happening. Reduce or make stronger the heads of the buttons. That's why we have different colors and different heads, because it's personalized. We remember that in the first test of the tilt test, he used to go very well with his right leg backwards and his left leg forwards, and he still goes. If we do the opposite, which we find much tension, now we go very well. Can you feel tension now? Okay. But you feel less tension?
Yeah.
Okay. In the internal external rotation test, we had this leg going very good internal, this leg going very good external. And we're still going well in this direction, but we wouldn't go back in that direction, which now we're doing very well. Let's go and see the concavity test. We realize in our hands that we'll have more space on the side where we had the complexity. Can you feel now my hand can get better in? Embrace yourself. Embrace. Side bend on the left, which was the direction you were going well. Good. Now go on the right, which we are going. Very good. Now we do the Gillen test. Put your hands down, and then help the patient go. Dorsiflexion one side, where it used to go very well, and it still goes. Neutral. And look at that. FixSit is very important for correction, maintenance, and to help people that spend a lot of hours sitting a day. Because I repeat, sitting is not good for us. And we have exasperated the sitting position.
Now I feel much better.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, just moving this side and this side. I think this one was earlier it was pain. It's much better. I can feel this.
By the fact now that he moves, we can also use FixSit as an active exercise in our practice. Because if we know muscular energy techniques, embrace yourself. He wasn't bending on the right. I can bend him passively and ask him to push towards my shoulder. 1, 2, 3. And we're making muscular energy technique. As he couldn't bend forwards, go down, please. Now he goes down better. I can ask him to push back. 1, 2, 3. And work on all those parameters that the patient couldn't do before. And now, thanks to proprioceptivity and FixSit, he can do. Okay. FixSit is a medical device, category 1, patented in all the world, made in Italy. Made in Italy by a very important company that produces also fashion products like Crocs and Allbag. This because the person who uses FixSit has to feel sick, but he has to use it because it's important for him. So we'll have it in 3 beautiful colors: pink, blue, and green. And the material is a very special material which is called Extra Light. You can find it in Reebok shoes. You can find it in lots of very important athletes' products because it's very light and very soft. And then this saddle will take the shape of your tuberosities after a couple of weeks, and it's going to be very, very comfortable. And the base is adaptable on all kind of sets. We studied it for this reason. You can put it in your chair, you can put it in your car, you can put it on an airplane, you can put it at school, in an office, wherever you want. You get a bag with it, and you can transport it wherever you want in this bag. In India, it's going to be distributed by biomedics with Mr. Nitin.
For more details, please contact our website www.biomedindia.net. Thank you very much.
Thanks.